Can your hospital security guard help you in an emergency, or would they just wait for police to arrive? In Marcus Wright's case, the answer was clear because the terrorist had chosen the wrong hospital, and Marcus was ready to use everything he learned in special forces to save patients and staff. Welcome to the Hidden Page Stories. Before we begin this powerful story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these stories alive. Marcus Wright was 58 years old and worked as a security guard at St. Mary's Medical Center, night shift, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. He walked slowly through hospital corridors, checked doors, reviewed visitor logs. Most nights were quiet, just some movement in the emergency room, night shift nurses quietly doing their work. Marcus was tall but slightly hunched, as if he had carried heavy loads for years. His hair had turned completely gray, deep lines marked his face. His uniform was always neat, but seemed too big, as if it was from his fuller days. He walked with a slight limp, the trace of an old leg injury. Hospital staff called him Marcus. He was a polite man, never raised his voice, gave short answers to questions. He had worked at the same hospital for 20 years, but very little was known about him. He wasn't married, had no children, lived alone in his apartment. When his shift ended, he would quietly go home and return the next night. Doctors barely noticed him. When rushing around in the emergency room, they would pass by him, sometimes saying, "Hi, Marcus," but mostly treating him as if he wasn't even there. Nurses were more respectful, especially the older ones. "How are you, Marcus?" they would ask. "I'm fine, dear. How are you?" he would reply. Young nurses and interns would underestimate him. If something urgent happened, "What could Marcus do anyway?" they would say, laughing. He'd probably just wait for police to arrive. When Marcus heard these conversations, he would just smile and say nothing. But Marcus's eyes were different. They were constantly moving, scanning every corner, identifying where every sound came from, instantly noticing unexpected movements. Even when walking, he would monitor his surroundings, mapping exit routes in his mind. He had never abandoned these habits. Marcus Wright's real story began in 1985. He was 18 years old then and had enlisted in the Army. First basic training, then paratrooper training, then Ranger School. But his real goal was Delta Force, America's most elite special operations unit. Delta Force selection was hell. Hundreds of candidates, only dozens accepted. Physical endurance, mental strength, teamwork, leadership. Marcus had passed them all. In 1989, he became a Delta Force operator. His first mission was in Panama, the Noriega operation, then the Gulf War, covert operations deep in Iraq, hostage rescue, HVT elimination, deep reconnaissance. Marcus had participated in all of these. His toughest mission was in Somalia in 1993. The operation to rescue the crews of Black Hawk helicopters shot down in Mogadishu. Marcus was there too. 18 hours of fighting, house-to-house combat in city streets. He had lost friends that day, the good ones, the brave ones, the young ones. Then, the Balkans, Afghanistan, Iraq, 15 years of operations in every corner of the world. Unofficial missions, unrecorded successes. Marcus's file was mostly filled with redacted pages. He retired in 2008. PTSD, chronic pain, sleep disorders. He had no family. Most of his Army buddies were dead or struggling with similar problems. Civilian life was hard for him. He couldn't do office work, couldn't socialize with people. When he found security work, he was relieved. Night shift, minimal human contact, routine checks. Just like night watches in the Army. Calm, controlled, predictable. Until that night. February 15th, Wednesday night. Marcus had come to work at 11 p.m. as usual. The hospital had its usual night atmosphere, a few patients in the emergency room, continuous patient monitoring and intensive care. Other departments were quiet. At 1:30 a.m., the first strange movement began. 3 cars stopped in the parking area near the main entrance. Normal visiting hours had long ended. Marcus watched the cars from security cameras. Men were sitting inside but not getting out. At 2 a.m., one of the cars moved, approaching the hospital entrance. 2 people got out, walking toward the main door. Marcus went downstairs to meet them. "Night visiting hours are over, gentlemen," Marcus said politely. The 2 men were young, athletic. One was blonde, the other dark-haired. They looked calm, but Marcus saw something familiar in their eyes. Predator's gaze. "Emergency," said the blonde one. "My brother was injured." "Emergency room is in the back," Marcus said. "You need to drive around. It's easier to enter from here," said the dark-haired one. Alarm bells started ringing in Marcus's mind. Something was wrong with these men. Too calm, too prepared. And they didn't look like anyone dealing with an emergency. "I'm sorry, but rules are rules," Marcus said. "You need to go to the emergency room." The blonde one approached. "Old man, don't give us trouble." That's when Marcus understood everything. This was an attack. Marcus's body language changed instantly. His back straightened, shoulders broadened, eyes sharpened. 20 years of civilian life vanished in an instant, and Sergeant Major Marcus Wright emerged. "Gentlemen," Marcus said, his voice completely different, "I need you to leave the hospital immediately." The two men were surprised. This old security guard's voice and posture had completely changed. "What did you say?" said the blonde. "You heard me," Marcus said. "The safety of patients and staff in this hospital is my responsibility, and you pose a threat." The dark-haired one laughed. "What do you think you are, a superhero?" Marcus was assessing them, both armed, obviously trained, but amateur, too young, too confident. The real threat might be in the third car outside. "No," Marcus said calmly. "I'm a former Delta Force operator, and you chose the wrong place." The two men couldn't believe Marcus. This old, gray-haired security guard was Delta Force? "Stop talking nonsense, old man," said the blonde and pulled out a pistol from under his jacket. Marcus moved. 30 years of muscle memory came flooding back instantly. Marcus shifted right, grabbed the blonde's wrist holding the gun, twisted and lifted it up. The gun fired, but the bullet went to the ceiling. At the same time, he neutralized the blonde with a knee strike. The dark-haired one was also trying to draw his weapon, but Marcus had already turned to him. His left elbow hit the dark-haired man's nose. His right fist hit the ribs. The man collapsed to the ground. The entire movement took less than 5 seconds. Marcus quickly collected both weapons, searched the men's pockets. No ID, only radios. Professional. The hospital alarm system started working. Voices came from Marcus's radio. "Marcus, what's happening? We heard gunshots." "Security breach," Marcus said. "Call police. Lock down the hospital." But Marcus knew this was just the beginning. The real attack hadn't come yet. At 3:15 a.m., the two men at the door were just the reconnaissance team. The real attack came from the emergency room. 3 masked men stormed the emergency room entrance. Automatic weapons, tactical vests, professional movement. Nurses screamed, patients panicked. "Everyone down!" shouted the leader. "Hands behind your heads!" Marcus was watching the situation from the security office. What he saw on the cameras worried him. These men weren't amateurs, they were soldiers. A voice came from his radio. "Marcus, they've stormed the emergency room. What do we do?" Marcus thought. Police would take at least 10 minutes. Special team, 20 minutes. He knew what would happen during this time. Hostages would be taken, demands made, then... "Evacuate the hospital," Marcus said. "Get patients to secure areas." "What are you going to do?" Marcus checked the weapons. 2 pistols, 6 magazines. Not much, but it might be enough. "I'm going down to the emergency room." As Marcus climbed the stairs, he was forming a plan in his mind. The emergency room had 3 entrances: main entrance, ambulance entrance, staff entrance. The terrorists had entered through the main entrance. The other 2 entrances might still be open. He quietly slipped in through the staff entrance. The corridors were empty. Everyone had been evacuated. Sounds came from afar. Shouts, commands, crying sounds of frightened people. Marcus leaned against the wall and listened. There were 3 different voices, all male, all aggressive. The leader was giving commands with an authoritative voice. The other 2 were reporting to him. "Area secure," said the first voice. "Hostages under control," said the second voice. "Very good," said the leader. "Now, police coming," said the third voice. "Sirens outside." "Expected," said the leader. "We implement the plan." Marcus looked around the corner. 3 men stood in the center of the emergency room. Around them were about 10 people. Nurses, doctors, a few patients, all frightened, sitting on the ground. This wasn't new for Marcus. He had conducted dozens of hostage rescue operations. But then he had his team, backup, a plan. Now he was alone, facing them with only 2 pistols. But there was no other choice. Marcus went into action. His first target was the closest terrorist, the one standing away from the leader. Marcus quietly approached, grabbed him from behind. One hand covered his mouth, the other twisted his neck. The man collapsed without making a sound. The second man had noticed Marcus. "Hey!" he shouted while trying to aim his weapon. Marcus rolled, hitting the second man's legs. The man lost balance and fell. Marcus immediately jumped on him, took his weapon. The leader had seen Marcus but was hiding among the hostages. "Who is that?" he shouted. "Come out." Marcus stood up, raised his hands but still held the weapons. "I'm not police," Marcus said calmly. "Who are you?" "Hospital security." The leader laughed. "Security? You're an old security guard." "I was," Marcus said, "but I'm also someone who conducted 30 operations in Delta Force, and I have bad news for you." The leader's weapon trembled. "What bad news?" "You chose the wrong hospital." The leader had his weapon pointed at Marcus but was trapped among the hostages. Marcus stood in the open area, becoming a target. "Drop your weapon," the leader shouted. "You drop yours first," Marcus said. "Release the hostages. Talk to me. Who are you to negotiate with me?" Marcus looked at him. Young man, 25, 30 years old. Trained but inexperienced, too tense, too hasty. "Kid," Marcus said, "I've done security here for 20 years. I know this hospital like my home. If you think you're getting out of here alive, you're wrong. Police have surrounded this place, yes, and you're trying to take hostages. But I'm not a hostage. I'm your problem." The leader's hands started shaking. The plan had gone wrong. The hospital was supposed to be a calm and easy target. The old security guard wasn't supposed to be a problem. "Last chance," Marcus said. "Drop your weapon, surrender. No one gets hurt. Never." The leader pulled the trigger. Marcus was already in motion. He rolled to the ground, firing at the same time. The leader's bullet hit where Marcus had been standing. Marcus's bullet found its target. Silence fell over the emergency room. 3 terrorists had been neutralized. The hostages were frightened but safe. When police arrived, Marcus had his hands raised, weapons in the ground, waiting calmly. "I'm Marcus Wright, hospital security," he said. "Situation under control." The SWAT commander looked at Marcus in amazement. You handled this alone?" "Yes, sir." "What training did you receive?" "Delta Force, retired." The commander shook Marcus's hand. "Brother, do you realize how many lives you saved today?" Marcus looked at the emergency room. Nurses were taking care of the hostages. Doctors were treating the wounded. Life was returning to normal. "I just did my job," Marcus said. The next night, Marcus came to the same shift again. Same uniform, same slow walk, same calm demeanor. But now, everything was different. Hospital staff had stopped calling him Marcus. Now they called him Hero Marcus. Doctors approached him with respect. Nurses asked questions. "Marcus, were you really in Delta Force?" "Marcus, how many operations did you conduct?" Marcus answered patiently, but didn't go into much detail. The past should stay in the past. The media had shown interest, but Marcus didn't give interviews. "I have other things I like to do," he told the reporter. Hospital management wanted to give him an award, but he declined. "My salary is enough," he said. A young nurse asked him, "Marcus, why didn't you ever mention your past?" Marcus stopped, looked at her. "Because, dear, real heroes are known for what they do today, not their past." "But you're a hero." "No," Marcus said. "I'm a hospital security guard. And I have some experience in protection, that's all." Marcus Wright never shared his story with the media. He never told heroic memories. The next night, he continued working in the same corridors, in the same silence. Because real heroes don't act for applause. They act when necessary. Marcus Wright had learned this 30 years ago. That night, he just remembered. And St. Mary's Medical Center, thanks to Marcus, continued to be one of the safest hospitals in the world. Because sometimes the most ordinary-looking people have the most extraordinary abilities. Now I ask you, have you ever encountered someone like Marcus? Someone who seemed ordinary but actually had extraordinary stories? Share their story in the comments. Because at the Hidden Page Stories, we believe that heroes who serve silently will not be forgotten. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, and help keep these voices alive. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, if you see an old security guard working quietly at a hospital, know that his story might be much deeper than you think.